In this training, we are going to talk about the 4 keys to self-mastery, how to stop miscreating and finally unlock your true power to manifest what you desire. Abundance, joy, relationships, multidimensional consciousness states, anything you want. But the key to that is self-mastery. So that's what we're diving in today. So let's say you're doing everything you're supposed to do, okay? You're setting your intentions, you're visualizing, you're taking action, you're trying to be in a high vibe all the time, but somehow you're just not manifesting what you want. Maybe you're working very hard, but money still feels inconsistent. Maybe you're doing all the inner work, but the same relationship pattern keeps showing up over and over again. Maybe you're seeking these higher states of consciousness, but instead you kind of feel emotionally overwhelmed and drained and maybe stuck in the cycles of doubt. Totally get it. So you double down on control, right? You micromanage your thoughts because, hey, if you just focus on the positive, everything should work out, right? You override your doubt, you push down your fear because one slip, one moment of hesitation, and poof, everything that you were trying to create might just be sabotaged. Your whole intention, everything, because you, for one moment, fell out of alignment. You force yourself into the right abundance mindset, something you read about or studied about, and now you are doing this one right abundance way. Golden light, angelic frequencies, quantum field activations, manifestation techniques, whatever else, only to find your mind obsessing about what is missing instead of what is manifesting. And then, when this doesn't work, you swing the other way. You surrender completely because maybe if you just trust the universe, then somehow everything will magically align. You let your emotions hold the wheel and drive you because the inner child really deserves to be loved and supported, even if it means that it's sabotaging whatever you're trying to manifest. But, it needs to have space and all the territory that you can possibly give it. And you convince yourself that feeling good is all that matters. And as long as you feel good, that is fine, even if you're bypassing the patterns that are keeping you stuck. Obviously, neither extreme works. And deep down, you know it. This is because the true power does not come from control or chaos. It comes from self-mastery. Self-mastery is not about fixing yourself. Okay? This is one huge misconception I hear so often. Like, oh, I'm just not masterful enough. I'm working on myself. And it becomes like this endless process of working on yourself to fix yourself as if you're broken. You're not broken. And fixing yourself is not mastery. Mastery is something completely different. It's about learning how to work with your emotions and thoughts in a way that fuels your manifestation instead of sabotaging it. And that's exactly what we're diving in today in this training. So we're going to look at the 4 keys to self-mastery, without which it's very hard to actually be masterful. If you don't follow those 4 keys, you end up falling into these beliefs of like, oh, I just gotta fix myself, something is broken, and we already decided there's nothing wrong with you. Instead, you want to be better, more harmonious, more aligned than what you are right now. And the more you are in mastery of yourself, the more you get to manifest whatever it is that you desire to create in your life. May that be money, abundance in other ways, like health, like connections, may that be relationship or some multidimensional perception. All those things you want to manifest come from being in mastery of yourself. All right. So 4 keys to self-mastery. Key number 1 is witnessing versus reacting. The difference between emotional awareness and emotional control. The problem here is that you mistake emotions for truth, and then you let them dictate your reality. You believe that Letting all emotions flow freely is how you honor your inner child. Compensating for the years, perhaps, of feeling unloved or ignored, unseen, rejected, and so on. So you tell yourself that it is actually healing, but in reality, you're just being ruled by the waves of emotion. That is essentially replaying old wounds instead of rewriting your story. Or you do the opposite. You suppress emotions completely, thinking that control equals mastery. Men tend to do that, versus women, they tend to go with the first option of letting inner child play. Men tend to suppress, but it doesn't really matter. You can be man or woman and still do that. You convince yourself that if you do not acknowledge the feeling, then somehow it does not exist. Kind of like a peekaboo with yourself. You override discomfort, bury down your fear, and hope that somehow it just disappears because you stop paying attention to it. But of course, neither one of those works. One keeps you trapped in the past, the other locks you in resistance, and both block your true self-mastery altogether. What it looks like in your life. So you can recognize this in some of your perhaps examples, like from real life stories. Maybe you feel angry, hurt, or rejected, like you lash out, withdraw, or spiral into negative thinking. You tell yourself that you're just feeling your feelings, but deep down, you're kind of like reactivating the old wounds instead of responding with conscious awareness and love. Another example is you get triggered by a conversation, like you instantly feel like you need to defend yourself or over explain something or fix the situation in order to feel safe. And your body tenses up and your mind starts to race. Sounds familiar? Well, you assume the worst before the words even leave your mouth. You're already in this state of trigger. That's another example here. Or maybe you try to ignore the emotions and they resurface as anxiety, frustration, burnout. A lot of times I see that in more electrical type of people, like action-oriented types of people. You might suppress the discomfort, distracting yourself with work, maybe with social media, with even some spiritual bypassing, because hey, good vibes only, that's what we want, right? Like that kind of stuff, until all this bottled up energy erupts in a way that you cannot control. And then you're really in trouble. Another example could be is that you let your emotions dictate your choices. If you're sad, you cancel your plans because you're sad. If you're overwhelmed, you just abandon your goals because, well, it's just too much. I feel too much. If you're doubting yourself, you assume that opportunity is not meant for you. Like, oh, it's not aligned. The biggest fake out that people do when it's not about the real alignment, it's just simply self-doubt. You follow every emotional impulse that you have, thinking that this is intuition. That's a big one that I see very often. When you allow your emotions dictate your choices, that is definitely another example of this key number one of witnessing versus reacting. In this case, this is what reacting looks like. Okay. Another example could be you believe that honoring your inner child means indulging in every single feeling. You tell yourself that you're making up for the past, but in reality, you're just keeping yourself trapped in patterns that created that pain in the first place. You're sort of re-wounding yourself and then thinking that you're healing the old pain because you're feeling it. It's a really twisted way that we do this to ourselves. But recognize if that is something that's happening with you, because that is definitely self-sabotage instead of mastery. Okay? So here is the shift. Mastery is not about suppressing emotions or letting them take over, either extreme. It's about witnessing them without identifying with them. Okay, that's the key. Witnessing without identifying yourself with the emotion. So you must observe your emotions with detachment. They are signals, not commands. And you must not let emotions define who you are. They reflect your beliefs, but not your worth. Okay? So how do you apply this? First of all, pause longer than 3 seconds. I know, sounds like, well, 3 seconds. Yeah. When you're just about ready to, whatever the trigger is, you must pause longer than 3 seconds. So in your mind, you can just like 1, 2, 3. If you manage to go past 3 into 4, you already have a chance of not reacting. If you didn't, reaction would just be automatic because your brain is wired to do so. So this is absolutely important application process of stepping into self-mastery out of reacting is pause longer than 3 seconds. Your brain runs on autopilot reactions, and within 3 seconds of a trigger, it fires an automated neuron response. You don't do anything about that. It just automatically happens. It's our biology. That means that if you do not pause, you are not choosing, you're reacting. So you must expand that gap a bit longer than 3 seconds. Breathe, feel the emotion for a moment, witness it before it has a chance to hijack your action. Then you ask yourself, am I in my higher self? Is this emotion a conscious response? Or is this just an old program running in my background somewhere? Also, another good question here to ask yourself, what if this is not about reality at all, but about whatever I decided reality means? Because if you already pre-decided that this person is this way or they're going to react this way, you're already reacting to whatever you think is going to happen, but none of this is actually happening. So notice, like, am I stuck in my own story here? Because a lot of times that's true. That's not that you're actually responding to situation. You are reacting to your own story that you believe is happening. Also, obviously, journal about the emotion. Like if we're talking about long-term, not within the moment of the situation, but if it's something that triggered you and you're kind of still cooking in it some time later, like hours later, you definitely want to unpack that further for yourself. What does this feeling I'm feeling reveal about how I see myself or how I expect life to work? Or what hidden should I still hold about reality that perhaps is navigating me right now instead of me navigating it? If you apply these changes that I just said, like pausing a little bit, 3 seconds or longer, asking if you're in a higher self, and then maybe digging deeper a bit through journaling, if necessary, about how you see yourself or if there's any should in a way, what changes is instead of reacting blindly, you gain agency over your emotions. And that means agency over your life. Your emotions stop ruling your decisions. You rule them. That's a conscious mastery. You're not controlling your emotions. You're not making them, have any space or, overriding them or whatever. You are in relationship with them, but it's a correct relationship that then allows you to manifest whatever you're actually intending, like abundance, like connections, like joy, and higher states of consciousness, whatever it is you wanted. Now, key number 2 for self-mastery is overriding emotions versus transmuting them, okay? How unprocessed emotions can hijack your creation power. The problem here is that you believe that overriding emotional reactions is how you feel certain or in control in your life. And that if you just stay positive, you will manifest whatever you desire. You can see the problem here already, right? You mistake plastering positive affirmations over negative emotions for clearing them, okay? Kind of like making things look positive doesn't resolve the negative, okay? Something else here is needed. You convince yourself that avoiding bad feelings makes them disappear somehow. But suppression, avoidance, forcing positivity only creates energy buildup, which then leads to miscreation. And that means that instead of attracting what you want, you actually block yourself. So frustration then creeps in, self-doubt grows, and soon you're just not only questioning your manifestation ability, you're questioning if you're even worthy to receive whatever it is, if you even deserve it. So it's like it very quickly snowballs into, right now I can't seem to manifest what I want to. Oh, maybe I'm not good enough and I don't even deserve the thing. All this stuff is a story how we fake ourselves out, and it blocks us from being able to feel this flow of manifestation through our conscious focused intention. What does this problem of overriding emotions look like in your life? Maybe you keep telling yourself, I'm fine, everything's fine. But underneath, you are resentful, anxious, maybe emotionally drained. And you suppress it because you don't want to lower your vibe. So you kind of like keep being this chipper, excited self, but it's a fake out of yourself. Maybe you distract yourself with work, with social media, with numbing habits instead of processing your emotions because you're afraid that, oh, no, if I feel that, I'll just get miserable and that's it. So I just gotta work through it. Could be okay for small doses, but if this is a life strategy, this is going to be a big problem because then productivity becomes your escape, or scrolling through the social media is like a way to avoid feeling. You're doing something so it looks productive, so some part of you gets to feel good about yourself, but it doesn't actually help, and in fact you're blocking manifestation when you do that. Or you suddenly explode over small things. Even yourself may be wondering, why am I having such a big reaction to this? But that's because emotional weight built up for too long. If you ever had them, like when one loss drop and suddenly somebody just gets super angry or they burst out crying or whatever, that's what this looks like. It's just pressure cooker that eventually bursts. And when that happens, it just looks like it comes out of nowhere. But it's not from nowhere, it's from suppression, okay? So the shift here is that emotions do not disappear when ignored. I know you know this, but sometimes when we're on a conscious path, we tend to think we're doing all the things right, and we don't recognize these teeny little things here. So notice where you might put something positive over something negative, thinking that, okay, now I'm feeling positive. And it might be true that there's some part of you that is, but if the negative emotion is persistently there, it didn't go anywhere. It's still there. You're just feeling less of it because you changed where your focus is, which is great, but it does not change the situation long term. We store our emotions in the energy field, and then we broadcast them as signals to reality. And this is what shapes our reality perception. This is what allows you to pull in from the quantum field whatever you want to manifest. And in order to understand that you actually creating from the quantum field, there's like two rules, I guess, two things that you need to know. One is that emotional reaction is an energy charge that is created by your belief. It's not something external that could be just removed. It's not something that happened to you either. It's made of your energy, which means it stays in your field when you feel it. So until you process it and transmute it to make it into something different, it will remain what it is. And the second part is that the strongest charge is what manifests. If your suppressed emotion carries stronger intensity for you than whatever your positive affirmation is that you're visualizing, then it's the suppressed energy that will actually win. Not because you want it to win. You might want your beautiful positive affirmation to win. But if the pain or the struggle or the confusion or doubt or whatever is that's buried underneath is energetically more charged, and usually it is, that's what wins. So no matter how much you try to mask it with your positivity, the deeper charge will always dictate whatever you attract. In other words, it would attract instead of your positive affirmation. And that means you don't get what you want. That's how we sabotage our manifestation. So how do we apply this so we change things? First of all, play a scientist. Feel it fully because you are strong enough, whatever the emotion is. Instead of distracting yourself, step into your higher self and allow the emotion to flow. You will not break, believe me. You're designed to be able to handle this. You will not spiral down either. You will be capable of handling it. Instead of panicking about what it means, simply tune in. Most of our spiraling and freakouts about whatever the emotion is, it is when we give it meaning. So don't. Where do you feel it in your body? Doesn't have to mean anything. Like, oh, right now I'm feeling this and I'm feeling it right there. Okay, observe it like a scientist, not like a victim. When you recognize where it is in your body, now call it out. Name this hidden belief. Like, okay, I'm feeling it in my body. Here it is, and it is whatever it is. Stand in your higher self authority and ask, what is the real belief that I'm trying to hide from? Because whatever it is you're feeling underneath that is what created the emotion. And we know that that's a belief of some sort. So what is the real belief that I'm trying to hide from? If it's a lower self fear, like maybe you're not good enough, or maybe you're not capable, maybe you're unworthy, like whatever it is, name it. Because the moment you name the fear, it loses its power over you. The only way something has power is because it has authority over you, right? So you claim that authority back by naming it, and whoo, suddenly you're in control of the situation, not it in control of you anymore. And the third part to this change within yourself towards self-mastery is transmuting, not suppressing, okay? Now that you are in your higher self identity already, the part of you that is brave, that is unshakable, that is eternal, you can see the truth. Every emotion is just data, okay? A reflection of a belief that you have been conditioned with. That's all. And that means it's an opportunity to shift it. Instead of running away from your fear, you can ask, what is the lesson here? And then see what drops in. Because by facing it, you are understanding what you're meant to learn. It wouldn't be showing up in your life if you have not meant to look at it in the first place. The only reason it's showing up is because it's time for you to deal with that specific issue, right? Your soul is putting it on your path. So there's a truth that you need to claim somewhere within that. That's the work. What that does is it changes everything in connection with self-mastery and your emotion. Your emotions become a tool for manifestation instead of the shadow that sabotages your manifestation all the time. Because every time you face the fear, instead of suppressing it, you reclaim your higher self authority. You take the power back. And then your higher self becomes the strongest charge in your energy field. And we already decided that that's what manifests, right? Whatever your strongest charge, that's what then becomes the quantum anchor, which attracts to you from the quantum field, whatever it is that you were intending. So the more you are in the higher self identity, the more you can manifest your desires from the place of that true self mastery. The key number 3 for self-mastery is neutrality versus the third point. Why taking sides keeps you stuck. So the problem here is you believe that there's only one right way, one right choice, one right way to do things. Just imagine the anxiety that this creates, this relentless pressure that you have to get something right. And if you don't, somehow it will be always wrong, because pretty much that makes like 99% wrong, 1% right, right? That's a lot of pressure and stress that's generated by that for pretty much majority of people that live in that belief. And the kicker in this situation is that it's not even your own right answer. It's someone else's expectation of you. That's what then masquerades as the right answer. It's somebody else's expectation or projection or societal rule or pressure that somebody put on you. It's not even your own right answer. Like, can you imagine the pressure of looking for that? Some of you might even be in that belief quite often. So that is definitely something that needs to change, because then you get trapped in a maze of shoulds that are not even yours. You feel guilty, you feel ashamed, you feel inadequate when you don't measure up to this impossible standard of being right kind of person or making the right kind of choice or advancing the right kind of way. So then you start chasing perfection. This is where perfectionism comes from, right? The fear that of making a mistake and having to be perfect, because you're chasing this perfection, terrified to step outside of invisible lines that drawn for you by others. They're not even your lines. It's like a hamster wheel of self-doubt, endless search for this imaginary golden carrot of validation that somehow God, universe, people, whoever authority will give you if you do it right. And all the time secretly fearing the punishment for getting it wrong. That is a hard place to be. What it looks like in everyday life, you might get stuck in over-analyzing, over-preparing, overthinking, paralyzed by the fear of making the wrong move. What if I mess up? What if people judge me? Paralyzed by the fear of humiliation, rejection, or not being socially acceptable, God forbid. All of that just keeps you frozen. So if that's you, this is definitely going to be very useful for you, what I'm going to tell you after. Maybe you never start a project or the business that you wanted to start or spiritual practice you wanted to make part of your life because you just don't feel ready. You know, how many of you end up in that belief? Don't feel ready. It's like you're waiting to be 100% certain. But the real issue here is not readiness. It's the fear of not knowing the one right way, so that you cover up that issue with, oh, I'm just not ready. When actually the issue is, I don't know one right way, and if I do it wrong, then I will be punished. That's the fear loop that's running underneath the story. Or you seek external validation before making any big decisions, constantly looking over your shoulder or asking somebody. You let other people's opinions dictate your path, even though you deal with people who might not even understand your spiritual journey or they don't know what you're coming from. But you're asking them anyway, as if their advice is going to somehow help you when they might not be even on a soul journey at all themselves. You lose time, you lose energy. Oh my God, you lose opportunities because you're waiting for permission all the time for somebody to say, yes, it's safe. Yes, you're allowed to do this, instead of giving yourself that permission. Another example could be you see everything black and white, like extremes. It doesn't go perfectly, then it's a total failure. There's no room for flow in this belief. There's no room for experimentation. It's just drama, extremes, underlying fear of chaos, constantly grasping as a solution. Nothing truly evolves because you're trapped between the right and wrong extremes instead of embracing possibility. So the shift here is that true mastery isn't about picking a side. Like, I'm going to be good versus being bad. That is not mastery. True mastery is not about picking a side. It's about stepping out of duality into unity, the third point. And no, it does not mean that you stop caring about whatever it is. Doesn't mean you become passive or indifferent. No, you still get to have your opinions. But the difference here is that your opinion comes from the ego, while the third point comes from the soul. So mastery is holding both at the same time. You get to have your personal opinion. You get to have the soul's unity perspective at the same time within you. Okay? You still get to be human. You have your own thoughts, your own emotions, your personal perspective. Your opinions can come from the higher self, from the ego, or even from the lower self, if you haven't done the work in the steps 1 and 2. But at the same time, it also something that allows you to hold the soul's view, the unity consciousness. And from this vantage point, your emotional reactions stop being absolute truth. They become indicators for your growth. They point at the beliefs that you might be having, the stories that you might subscribe to, instead of being this ultimate truth about reality. This is what true self-mastery looks like. Seeing your human emotions while also standing in a higher perspective of your soul. not trapped inside your reactions, but witnessing them from a place of deep wisdom. How do we apply this onto our everyday life so that we can actually change? Well, instead of labeling situations as right versus wrong, ask yourself what else could be true. This is a great question that just opens up the parameter right there. What else could be true? This shifts from the rigid thinking into expansive multidimensional perspective where more possibilities exist. Another thing you can do is practice holding compassion for both sides of the situation and yourself in the situation. Okay? Whether it's personal conflict, societal issue, or even your own inner contradictions, the ability to see beyond polarization is the key to embodying sovereign awareness, so that you can be compassionate to the part of you that's maybe lower self because it got its story somewhere, and to the part of you that is your soul or the higher self, to, let's say, two people that maybe you personally think that this path is more correct than this one, but you can see both sides as to this is how they came to this belief. I'm compassionate to both. They both are going through the lessons, but personally, I happen to be more aligned over here. So that's the balance that allows you to truly step into mastery instead of jumping between, oh, this is right, oh, this is right. There's no right, there's just your alignment. And of course, to remind yourself that there are infinite paths to success, not just one. So when you release attachment to a singular outcome that you somehow mentally decided is the right one, then you open yourself to synchronicities, to possibilities, to divine timing and unexpected miracles that can come into your life. What does this change? You stop stressing over doing it right, finally. And instead, you learn to trust the unfolding path, whatever's unfurling in front of you, instead of feeling like you're constantly battling circumstances, looking for this one right answer that you never seem to be able to find. So it's this forever seeking, like a hamster in a wheel. You step into the state of flow, where soul alignment is what guiding your choices instead of this endless seeking. See how that's different, right? You can kind of feel the difference in there. That's the change when you shift this third key. Okay. Now, the fourth key to self mastery is decisiveness as a superpower. How clear decisions shift your broadcast. And remember, we already know that the broadcast is what creates whatever we want, right? So if you want to manifest something, you need to broadcast from yourself, resonate into the universe from the strongest charge that's matching whatever you want to manifest. That's how you create it. Problem here with the decisiveness is you're afraid to make decisions because what if it's the wrong one? So instead of acting, you kind of stay stuck in overthinking, maybe daydreaming about manifesting whatever it is that you want and never actually taking steps to make it real. Could that be you? Like, recognize yourself in that? So many people struggle with that. They kind of love their dream, but then they don't do anything to make the dream happen because, well, then you have to make decision and you actually have to follow through with action. And, well, what if it's wrong? And then it just becomes the cycle that is too cumbersome and uncomfortable that they stay loving the dream because that's more comfortable. Because at this place, you're in a possibility versus in action. But that's also sabotage of your creation. Indecision keeps you in limbo, leaking energy and miscreating. The longer you hesitate, the more your energy drains until you feel totally depleted. And what happens then? Well, then exhaustion triggers emotional spirals like self-judgment. Why can't I figure this out? Or feeling lost. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. Or feeling unworthy. Maybe I'm just not meant for this. Does any of those sound familiar to you? Here's the truth. You're not confused. You're just scared to follow through. That's it. That's a very important distinction. It's just fear. You're not lost. You're just refusing to decide, thinking that somehow you would get this 100% certainty. That doesn't happen. You decide and action happens, and then you see what occurs. So you're not lost. You're just refusing to decide. You're not enough either. You just haven't tested your power in the real world yet. That's what action is for. So the breakthrough here is commitment. The moment you make a decision and your energy aligns behind you towards that decision, the path begins to unfold. This is what it might look like in your life. Maybe you constantly weigh pros and cons of a decision, analyzing instead of acting and testing it in the real world, only to spend months, if not years, and then later you're still at the same place. Maybe you start projects and relationships or opportunities, but then hesitate to fully commit so that they fizzle out before they even have a chance to succeed in any way. Maybe you look for signs from the universe because somehow it's going to tell you, but then ignore one thing that actually matters, which is your own knowing. So whatever you know within yourself is probably there's a truth in that, but it becomes like a projection of authority to give your power to the universe and say, well, it's going to tell me. I mean, it will tell you, but you got to listen to yourself as well and then follow through with actions. Instead of trusting your intuition, you end up second guessing yourself, waiting for some external confirmation that never comes. Maybe you tell yourself you're confused or you're not ready, but deep down it's just a fear of making the wrong move. So you stay in this limbo state, exhausting your energy without moving forward. It's like idling car. It's like grinding the gears of the vehicle, but nothing's happening. And if you are putting energy into it, you actively seeking while at the same time not deciding and not following through, it's like having your car in the drive and park at the same time. It's just grinding the car, destroying the car. The car is your body, your energy field, but nothing is happening. Like steam is coming off you and nothing is happening. That's the confusion and not ready. That's what that looks like. Maybe you convince yourself that, oh, you need more courses, more research, more education, more clarity before you can act. This is such a common one. When in reality, clarity comes from action, not from waiting. If you apply yourself, you can be course corrected. If you're not moving, no one can help you. Just sitting there and waiting is not going to help. So the shift here is that clarity and action together is how you gain your manifestation power. Mastery is not about always making the perfect decision, okay? It's about making a decision, and following through. Any decision, okay? Even if later you realize that didn't go where I wanted, didn't lead the path the way I wanted, didn't result in what I wanted, that's okay. You just adjust your course. Movement is always better than hesitation. Here is the secret. The universe and your guides cannot help you course correct if you are stationary. Literally, it's a universal law. You can't steer a parked car. Not going to happen. But the moment you start moving, even if it's imperfect, they can align for you synchronicities, insights, next steps on your path. You start to have realizations and your manifestation begins to flow, bring to you abundance and connections and whatever else you wanted to create in your life. Okay? So how do we apply this? Start small. Make one clear decision today. Even if it's a simple something like choosing how you're going to spend next hour. But then stick with it. Follow through. Learning to follow through is exercising your self-mastery muscle. You want to make it strong. And the only way that's going to get strong is if you keep exercising, keep working out. Okay, small decision, follow through. Check, done. Next decision, follow through. Check, done. Then you can practice on larger decisions, but even small. That's how you build up that muscle. Practice then on bigger choices. Commit fully to whatever it is you chose without, well, what if, like none of this wobbles. Just, okay, this is what I'm committing to. And if the better option presents itself, or if you're getting some data about, whatever needs to be adjusted, great. Then you course correct your momentum. But now there's no paralysis. There's actually movement. Another thing you can do is trust your inner knowing. We've been talking about that for a while, but I'm going to repeat that again. Stop waiting for external proof of your choice to be the right one, okay? Decide and let reality respond. Decide, something happens. Okay, adjust, course correct, decide, follow through, something happens, and so on. Way better movement through life, and this is how you actually evolve. Identify your energy leaks. Notice where you start overthinking, when you get into hesitation or maybe into fear. Consciously redirect your energy. Look for if there's some habitual story that's going on that keeps you in that. Because the moment you stop hesitating and start owning your choices, your manifesting power skyrockets. Instead of waiting for life to happen to you, you become an active creator, stepping into your sovereign authority with confidence, clarity, and unstoppable momentum. The power of decision is the gateway to abundance. Everything here we've talked about, clearing distortions, realigning your reality filters, eliminating energetic leaks, stepping into sovereign authority, comes down to one thing: making a clear, conscious decision to step into your next level. Without decisiveness, you stay stuck in hesitation, second guessing, self-doubt. You spin in circles in your life trying to manifest wealth and love and health or even purpose. But energy never fully locks in. You kind of start and then it stops, or you fall out of it. So you need to know how to make these decisions in a way that is sovereign, in your highest authority, and masterfully aligned with your soul mission. Indecision is a silent abundance killer, literally. The less decisive you are, the less abundance you can create in your life. It keeps you stuck in limbo, afraid to act, and afraid to claim what's already meant for you in the universe. But when you finally decide, when you declare to the universe, okay, I'm ready, I'm all in, yay, that's when everything starts shifting. That's the big change that reality now accommodates you. This is when your energy stops leaking, your broadcast becomes clear, and you start attracting abundance like a magnet instead of chasing after it. This is exactly what Abundance Gate Activator is for. It's the next level of quantum manifestation for you. If you've been feeling like you're meant for so much more, but you can't seem to break through to the next level, or maybe you're tired of working too hard for very little gain while others seem to effortlessly step into success and somehow it just magically works for them but not you. Maybe you feel like you're stuck in the old patterns despite working on them so much, like old relationship loops or even spiritual stagnation, no matter how much work you do. Maybe you understand the concepts of abundance and manifestation. You've heard of them, you've studied them, but then you haven't been able to fully embody them. Then this course is exactly what you need. Because what if you could unlock the hidden fine print on the law of attraction that no one talks about so that you can finally make it work for you? What if you can activate your unique wealth resonance and stop repelling the very abundance that you're trying to manifest? What if you can remove subconscious blocks that keep you in this struggle mode so you no longer fall back into scarcity? Effortlessly magnetize to you money, relationships, connections, opportunities, instead of constantly trying to force them into existence in your life. This isn't about working harder or forcing yourself into some rigid manifestation techniques or waiting for miracles either. It's about activating your unique abundance contract and becoming a living, breathing match to wealth, ease, and expansion in your life. Inside Abundance Gate Activator, you get 26 masterclasses covering 7 sacred rules of manifestation, so you can effortlessly align your current reality with wealth, relationships, success, whatever it is that you desire. You also get 13 theta brainwave meditations to rewire your subconscious. Okay, activate this abundance blueprint within you and clear any deep rooted scarcity patterns for good. You also get workbooks and journal prompts so you can anchor all this stuff. You also get deep dives, Q&A, and integration call recordings, like tons of materials from the time I taught this class before live, so that you can now, in this pre-recorded format, dive in at your own pace, explore all of this, and get like 15 hours of me answering every question you could possibly think of already there for you, that you can just dig through and get yourself unstuck finally. This is also where you get your abundance personality type assessment, so you discover exactly how you are wired to attract abundance. Like, what is your way to do this? Because abundance is your birthright, and it's time to claim it. If you're tired of being stuck at the same level, watching others effortlessly thrive and create incredible openings while you kind of feel like, why am I still figuring things out? Then this is your invitation. This is your moment to decide that decision we were talking about. So here it is. This is where you decide. So there is a link in the notes for Abundance Gate Activator. Go check it out. You will learn so much just by reading through the information about this course itself. And I so hope that you jump in, because that is for you to finally align with wealth and opportunities and life that you meant to have. The portal is open. So are you ready to walk through it? Hopefully I will see you on the inside. My love to you.